Good morning, second English students. So this is going to be the last video of this course. By this video, let me wind up the syllabus. Let me wind up this book, fifth unit, Indian mythology short stories. And by this video, you'll wind up the syllabus of Indian culture through literature. Okay. So now we will continue. Now we will continue this lesson, this book. So that is Sigmund Freud. He is said to be the most important scientist in all the fields, in literature, in psychology, in literary criticism, in human psychology. He is said to be the most important scientist, and he was the first to discover, to say that we have three personalities. One is id, another one is ego, and another one is superego. Okay, so id is idiotic personality, and ego is ourself, and superego is our betterment of the ego. Okay, rationalizing the ego. Okay. So in idiotic personality, we have all the unconscious desires which ego itself do not know. Okay, in our unconscious mind, we have lots of desires. That is, even I may have sexual desire with my own mother. Such kind of unconscious desire may all men, all boys have. They are said to be idiotic personality. Okay, and because of this psychology, based on this psychology, our idiotic personality, our sexual desires, all the myths are constructed. So Greek mythology, it is in straightforward, that is, son kills his own father. Such kind of stories, lots and lots of stories were written. The most important one is Oedipus Rex. But in case of Indian mythology, the same idea is there, but the concept is a little bit different, where in Indian mythology, father kills the son, or the son simply blindly obeys father's words. Okay, so it is like the psychology. So I am your enemy. The son is actually father's his father's enemy. Okay, but not willing to kill his own father. He accepts the father's desire or obedience. Okay. Say for example, the most important example is that no child, all the child wants. Even I also, today I openly, even in classroom also, I said, I actually did not say to you, I haven't said to you that I always like to be a single child. I do not want siblings, and that's why I am happy. I want this such a life. Okay. I explicitly said, but some of you say, so no, sir, you are wrong. Having siblings is always good, and it makes our life happier. Okay, but Sigmund Freud strongly say that if you say that it is a lie, at least you are unconscious. Though your conscious mind may say that love your siblings, it is a happy life, but your unconscious mind strongly say that do not love your siblings. Okay. And how to cope up with your siblings. We do not, all child, let's say, for example, today, let's say in a few days, my daughter will celebrate second birthday, and if in a few months, I may have a second child, Ria may have a sister or brother. Say for example, a brother is born to Ria, and when the moment when the information is given to Ria that another baby will be born to you, a sibling will be born to you. Okay, if the information is given, definitely Ria doesn't like it. Definitely she will not like it. Okay, but the child is born, a sibling is born. In order to cope up with the reality, and she cannot be baby cannot be killed, and I don't have the ability to kill that baby. But at the same time, I have to accept the reality, and rather than showing hatred, and Ria shows love towards the sibling. Okay, but the love is a kind of defense mechanism, defense mechanism of coping up with the reality. Okay, so then she shows lots of love to that baby. Okay, but the reality is that she definitely she doesn't like any sibling. Not only all of us do not like a sibling. Okay, we want to be only child, a single child to our parents, so that everything, all their love and affection and the property, everything will be. The single child will have everything. Okay, so this is the reality. Okay, though you may love your siblings so sincerely, you like to be with them, and it may consciously you may have that, but your unconscious mind will have this idea only. Okay, so that is what Sigmund Freud says, and this is another example is that all of us, all you girls will have a sexual desire, always have sexual desire with your father, and all you boys always have sexual desire with your mother. Okay, not only students, even for me and for whole humanity, this is the reality. So this is what Sigmund Freud says, and when we analyze myths also, this is the reality. Okay, so in all Greek mythology, the son kills the father. How this can happen? It is because of that all human beings have that desire to kill his own father, and having sex with their own mother. So this is the idea. Okay, so this, in all our unconscious mind, this is the reality, and that is why it is expressed in myth. But in case of Indian mythology, it is reversed. Rather than killing his father, the son accept father's killings or blindly obey the father's words, and that's how it is a kind of balance. Like the child, rather than showing hatred to the siblings, and it transforms the same hatred transformed to cope up with reality. The same child transform itself as love. Okay, so all the boys have hatred towards the father, but in case of Indian mythology, it is transferred as extreme love towards the father and blind obedience towards the father. Okay, so this is the idea, and Jung, Jung, that is the pronunciation Jung, but the spelling is Jung. He is the student of Sigmund Freud, and he further developed the theory, and he says that it is not human beings do not have ego or super ego. Rather, they have these four personalities, that is ego, shadow, anima, self. Ego, shadow, anima, self. And self is the new idea formed by Jung or discovered by Jung. Okay, let's say ego, shadow, anima. The name only differs, but everything is said by Sigmund Freud himself. Okay, so the name given by Sigmund Freud is id, but he changed the name as ego. Jung changed the name as ego, and shadow is idiotic personality. Okay, and id is what is it? Sorry about that. Ego is the same thing. Ego, what Sigmund Freud says about ego, that is what said by Jung also. Sorry, now let me explain clearly. Ego, the definition of ego given by Sigmund Freud and the definition of ego given by Jung, both are same. Okay, and the name is not changed, but idiotic personality. Jung changed the name of idiotic personality id as shadow. He named it is not id, it is called a shadow. Why? Because it is like a shadow. the personality is there. Okay, I am here. My shadow falls on the floor. Okay, it is also me. Though consciously no, yes, that is shadow of me. However I behave, however I move my fingers, the shadow also does. That I consciously do not know. Okay, that's why he names it as shadow. And Panima, that is our rational thinking. Okay, that is not super ego, but he names as anima or animus. So rational thinking is based on masculine rational thinking as well as feminine rational thinking. Both male and female have this anima and animus. Masculine rational thinking and feminine rational thinking. Okay, so say for example, masculinity is thinking about philosophy. Masculinity is not thinking about physical beauty, but all men like to be want to give importance to physical beauty also. They want to be groomed also. Okay, they want to wear good shirts. Okay, this is feminine personality. It is there in male also. Female also think about philosophies, but the idea of thinking about philosophy is a masculine idea. Okay, so this is what rational, that is super ego, rational thinking is further divided as anima and animus. Okay, you simply copy page number 192. You simply copy this one, what Jung says, the idea of Jung. Okay, and the fourth one is Jung found out is self, the ultimate potential of being. Okay, this is it is not there in human personality said by Sigmund Freud, but Jung says that yes, there is the idea called self. That is our urge for spirituality, that our urge for moksha. It is there in our personality also. But Sigmund Freud says no, there is no such thing called spirituality. Human beings do not want spirituality. Likewise, Sigmund Freud says, but Jung, his own students says that no, all human beings want spirituality. They want to get a moksha. That is self. Unanimously, all the human beings, they would have thought about spirituality. Definitely, all of us would have thought about spirituality, which Sigmund Freud fails to understand this. Okay, so he says about self. Okay, so thus we have four personalities in our body according to Jung, and so now we shall move to Floyd Lévi-Strauss. Okay, so what does he say about a marriage and human personality? Okay, see, Lévi-Strauss is an important scientist in anthropology, that is studying about human being, and he wrote an essay, not a book, it is an essay, a long essay, Incest and Myth. Okay, so here he talked about in all cultures how marriage system takes place. In all cultures, marriage system takes place outside their family. They do not marry their own sister or brothers or mother. So they marry other families, and in all the cultures, whether African culture, Australian culture, Indian culture, European culture, whatever the tribe could be, when there is marriage, women is separated from their original family. Why it is so? Okay, and the first reason already is explained, that is if a son marries his own mother, or when the marriage takes place between brothers and sisters, naturally the children to be born for them is going to be crippled or diseased one. Those children will die soon, because the DNA is going to be same. As the DNA is going to be same, it cannot survive. The race, the creature will survive only if it is able to accept different DNA. Okay, So this is the idea. See, I have my own DNA, and Ria has her own DNA. If the same DNA joins, and another creature is created by joining these two DNA, father and daughter DNA, then the DNA cannot survive. Different DNA, set of DNA should join, and a different living baby should born. Okay, so this is the idea, and so this is the reason that a different family should be married. Okay, when this is the case, and why women should be separated. Okay, so it is the nature of all men to explore the world. Humans, the men's psychology is that they cannot sit inside the house, and they want to explore. They want to men by nature, not always and everybody. By nature, men should explore the world. Okay, what is there in the mountain? Let me go and see there. And what is there inside the sea? Let me explore it. Okay, so this is nature, psychological nature of also this, and but in case of women, the psychological nature is not. They want to be inside the house. Okay, and but the biological reason is also that when they have periods, at least 3 days they should be inside the house. Okay, when this is the case, when the psychology is this, and when this is the case, they can look after the house. Okay, and as they can look after the women can look after the house, and men can explore the world. So men can go and hunt and gather food, and take the food, and come to house. Okay, so the food is easily managed by the women. Okay, so let's say if men in marriage, if men comes to another new house, he cannot have emotional attachment with the new house. Men cannot have emotional attachment with the new house, because he wants to explore, and he wants to wander around the world. And when he comes back to the house, when men comes back to the house, and his parents is some other parents, then men in no way can develop emotional attachment with the new house. But in case of women, though this is not my house, my parent, I am separated from parents, I live in the house, women have the ability to develop emotional attachment with the new house, which men fail. Okay, for this purpose, whether women like or not, women should be separated from their original family, and let her live in the new house. But women have the ability to adapt to the new house and new family, and men can go and explore the world, and they can hunt and gather food and give the food, and so the human race is protected, the community is protected. So that is why this rule is made. So after marriage, women should be separated from their original family, and they should live in a new family. Okay, Cloyd Levi-Strauss says this. Okay, but the summary of this essay is not given in the book. But Levi-Strauss is an important scientist in anthropology, and he interpreted myth in a beautiful way. Okay, so for your understanding, for your knowledge, I explained the essay incest and myth. Though you may not, there is no need for you to write these ideas. But the point given in that essay is the most important point given in that essay. Incest and myth is given in our book. That is, myth help us to cope up with reality. Myth help us to cope up with reality. Okay, so of course this point is already explained in my previous video also. So Cloyd Levi-Strauss also says this point. So let's say I want to marry hundreds of girls. Okay, when I hear the story, Krishna is simply dancing with hundreds of girls. Then when I listen to this story, okay, my unconscious desire is satisfied. Okay, so this is the idea. So that's why this argument should be studied. Okay, and so it helps us to satisfy our unconscious desires. Okay, and please open at page 198 and draw this diagram, and every explanation you should draw. So this diagram is already explained, but this diagram is the further explanation of the structure of universe. Okay, the structure of universe is that it is in circle shape, and inside the circle the square is drawn, that is with our own belief and our own rules and regulations. Okay, so when we form our own rules and regulations and we follow it, we have peace of mind. As we have peace of mind, that is a step to get moksha. But at the same time, outside the square, there are evil things. They will also get success. They are also going to be glorified, and but at the same time we should move towards the center. Okay, we have to lead the life inside the square, though the universe is beyond the square, but we should move towards the center of the universe, that is getting moksha. Okay, so this should be the purpose or idea. That's how our life should be there. Okay, so square for the auspicious Lakshmi and domestic Gauri that are acceptable in culture, and circle for beyond the square there is evil thing, and evil thing is there in our mind, in our personality, that is a desire for mother and daughters desiring for father. It is there in our mind, but we should let us simply ignore those thing. We shall ignore the universe which is outside the square. We shall ignore the universe which is outside the square. But the universe is in circle, both good and evil and ugly thoughts. In our personality also there are ugly thoughts. It is our nature, yet we shall ignore it. We shall forgive those things. Okay, so so the central thing, the soul and the Paramatma, for that we should move towards that. Okay, so this is said to be the real Hinduism and real Indian mythology. Okay, so the last point is that so Indian mythology could be interpreted in whatever way we like. It could be interpreted from Western point of view. It could be interpreted from Sigmund Freud point of view. It could be interpreted from Jung point of view, or from science point of view, or from our own point of view. Whatever it may be, our responsibility is that we should not, being Indians, we should not ignore Indian mythology. Whether you want to scold Indian mythology or not, it doesn't matter. Whether you want to being Indian, it doesn't matter. Indian mythology is false. Indian mythology is superstitious. Do not follow it. Like if you want to say that, you can say that, but we cannot ignore Indian mythology. We should not ignore Indian mythology. Okay, so that is what that is the last point there that Patnaik says in this book. But always we have to interpret Indian mythology. Last point he says that Ramayanam could be interpreted in our own way. Whatever the ways we want, we can interpret. But interpreting Ramayanam is very important in our life. Okay, see, Ramayanam is false. Ramayana, Mahabharata are completely false stories. Don't believe it. For that, I have to study Ramayana, Mahabharata. Personally, I believe that even before reading this book, I strongly believed that Ramayana, Mahabharata are real incidents, but the fantasy elements. Let's say Arjuna is chanting mantras, and the snake became the arrow for Arjuna. snake says my family is killed, I want to take the snake says to Karna, my family is killed by Arjuna, I want to take revenge against Arjuna, so therefore I will become an arrow for you and I will help you in the war. Okay, a snake says this to Karna in Mahabharata. But these stories are false. But even before reading this book, I strongly believed that Ramayana and Mahabharata are real history. That's what I strongly believed. Okay, even this book also this is said. Okay, so to make the incident clear, to make the story interesting, they added fantasy elements. This is my opinion. Okay, so if you believe what Prasad said, if you say whatever it may be, what Prasad said is right or wrong, that you have to study Ramayana and Mahabharata. You yourself should study Ramayana and Mahabharata. Yes, what they said is correct. And no, Prasad said is wrong. Really this happened. All the fantasy elements happened. If you say so, okay, you are most welcome. But what you and I have to do is we have to read Ramayana and Mahabharata. Whether you are a Muslim or Christian, it doesn't matter. Being Indian, we have to study Ramayana and Mahabharata. Whether you believe it or not, being a Christian, just to scold Ramayana and Mahabharata, we study those epics. Okay, that is our responsibility. Okay, so this is what said by David Patnaik and the last. So we can interpret Ramayana and Mahabharata in our own way, not only Ramayana and Mahabharata, all the Indian mythologies, but it is our responsibility continuously we should interpret Indian. Okay, so this is the thing, but this is the last point. This is the last point given here, and so the table. Okay, so Kali, Gauri, and Durga, everything is same. Okay, there are various forms of worshipping. Okay, so everything is there in the universe. So so that's all, and thank you. So that's the end of this syllabus, Indian culture through literature, and this book Indian mythology is over. Thank you.